Alright, legends, welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart. We're getting into a little later than I was hoping, but we're getting on finally to Halloween from 1978, the original. And in all fairness, the Halloween movies are a series of movies that I am not very much versed in at all. It's just this franchise originally for me didn't really grab my attention, but it's a cult classic and it's worth going back and checking them out properly for once. That I have seen the vast majority of this original movie and bits and pieces throughout the entire series, but just, if someone was to ask me something about them right now at this point, I don't think I can answer the question 100% honestly, so I'm dying to check these movies out. I was hoping to actually do these throughout the whole of October. That did not happen for one reason or another. I'm not going to bore you with that nonsense, but it is what it is. Screwed up in a major, major way, and I'm not even going to use that excuse that just life happened, life got in the way. That is a cop-out. If something's important enough to you, you're going to find a time and a chance to actually get something done. So I screwed up, dropped the ball, but yes, we're back at it now. This one here, very few sequences within the movie jumped out at me while I was watching it, but again, as I say, just not something that I really checked out back in the day. But essentially, the movie it begins Halloween night, 1963, in the town of Haddonsfield, Illinois, and 6-year-old Michael Myers stabs his teenage sister Judith to death with a chef's knife. There's a new word for you. A chef's knife, and for 15 years he's incarcerated at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. While he's there, he never speaks a word. On October 30th, 1978, Michael's psychiatrist, Dr. Loomis, arrives at the sanatorium to escort Michael to court for a hearing. The doctor is hoping that Michael will be locked up for life, but Michael manages to escape and goes and kills a mechanic and gets hold of his overalls. This is really cutting the movie into shreds right here. But you find out how he gets his appearance and the mask and everything throughout this movie. It doesn't really signpost it that much to you that he's actually had it. Like, if you blink, you'll miss it. But while Luminous is trying to track Michael down, he comes across this pickup truck on the side of the road, and somebody's been killed. And when he's leaving, you can see like the clothes that Michael was wearing when he escaped the sanitarium. So there's a lot of stuff in here that blink and you miss, more or less. But he's heading back towards Haddonfield, and when he arrives there, he steals knives and ropes and a white expressionless mask from a hardware store. And the interesting backstory to that mask is, if you don't know this is probably going to come as a shocker to you, but I heard it a long time ago that it was actually the mask that Michael Myers wears is actually William Shatner's face. And it was one of these things where you heard it and you never really believed it and whatnot. But I did look into it, and it turns out that it is actually a mask based on William Shatner's face. And the exact details of where the mask came from now is kind of escaping me, but you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong here. But Apparently he was that much of a diva back in the Star Trek days that they had to make this cast of his face to work with any makeup and cosmetics that he would need for the show. So they would just have to, land on the set and put this thing on. And so it sat in storage for a long time after the original run of Star Trek finished, and they came across it whenever they were making Halloween, so they took the mask and just used it. So it's not that difficult to dig up some of the info and that there, but it's just that. And now that if you didn't know that, and now you do know it, you're never going to look at him and see him ever again in this movie. It's just you're going to see the mask and you're going to be like, that's Captain Kirk going crazy and going on a spree here. So so back in the movie, on Halloween, Michael sees high school student Laurie Strode drop off a key to the long abandoned mayor's house where he killed his sister at the beginning of the movie all those years before. Her father is like a real estate agent, and she drops the keys into this house for someone that wants to check it out. As I say, the father's trying to sell it, and Laurie notices Michael stalking her throughout the day, but her friends Annie and Linda dismiss her concerns. Loomis eventually arrives in Haddonsfield and he finds Judith's tombstone missing from the cemetery. Michael's sister, that is. And he meets with Annie's father, Sheriff Brackett, and they investigate Michael's house, where Loomis tells the sheriff that in the 15 years he's known Michael, he's realised that he is pure evil. Brackett is doubtful of the danger, but he goes to patrol the streets while Loomis. Why am I saying luminous all the time? While Dr. Loomis, waits at the house expecting Michael to return. But that night, Laurie is babysitting Tommy Doyle while Annie babysits Lindsay Wallace across the street. Michael follows them, spying on Annie and killing the Wallace's dog. That's not a very good start for everybody wants to see the animal survive. There's a few of the reviews that did in the Friday the 13th where you're kind of like, oh, I hope that dog's okay, but that doesn't happen in this movie. Tommy sees Michael from the windows and he thinks he's the boogeyman, but Laurie does not believe him. Annie later takes Lindsay over to the Doyle house to spend the night so she can pick up with her boyfriend Paul and get a little bit of dirty action in there, as they tend to do in these movies. When she gets into the car, Michael appears in the backseat and he strangles her and cuts her throat. And sooner after, Linda and her boyfriend Bob arrive at the Wallace house and find it empty. And after having sex, again, they have to get the dirty on in these movies. It's like a standard practice. So if you're going to have a slasher movie where a bunch of teenagers are going to get killed, and you need to get at least one dirty, perverted scene in there just to keep the weirdos and the audience happy. Yes, right. Where I'm at. Yes, Bob goes downstairs to get a beer. Michael kills him by pinning him to the wall with a kitchen knife. Michael then poses as Bob in a ghost costume and confronts Linda, who teases him to no effect. Annoyed, she calls Laurie to find out what happened to Annie, but Michael strangles her with the phone cord while Laurie listens on the other end, thinking that it's a joke. Dr. Loomis discovers that the stolen car that Michael escaped in from the sanitarium at the beginning of the movie, and he searches the streets and back with Laurie, suspicious of the phone call. She goes to the Wallace house to find her friends' bodies, as well as Judith's headstone in the bedroom upstairs. She runs to the hallway where Michael appears in the dark, and he goes after her, slashes her in the arm, and causes her to fall over the banister rails and down the stairs. She narrowly escapes, runs back to the Doyle house, but finds she's lost the keys to the front door. During the altercation with Michael, Tommy lets her into the house, and she orders Tommy and Lindsay, the two little kids, to hide. And she tries to use the telephone for help, only to find that the phone's dead. So he's taken, he's cut her off completely. Michael, he sneaks in through the window, he attacks her again, but she manages to incapacitate him, stabbing him in the neck with a needle. Thinking that he's dead, she staggers upstairs to check on the children, but is shocked when Michael again appears and attacks her. She tells the children to hide in the bathroom, and while Laurie hides in the bedroom closet, Michael finds her, but she manages to poke his eye out with a coat hanger, I think. There's certain things that I've written down here in my notes that I was just kind of like, this has happened, and I think she stabbed him in the eye here, but I'm not 100% sure, because I was just like trying to find the time to actually sit down to watch the film was just a disaster. But yes, I need to get better timetable set out for this podcast, and in particular, and I'm dying to get into a lot of stuff here, but I digress. So as we're going through the movies and people know them better than I do, maybe you're sitting there thinking to yourself right now, that didn't happen, she didn't stab him in the eye. I'm not 100% sure, I'll admit that there, but I'm going by what I wrote down fairly quickly, because it was like one watch, and it was kind of like I just had time to watch a movie and no more, so I was sitting watching it and had a notebook there and was just kind of jotting down as I went. Michael drops the knife at this point, and Laurie uses it to stab him in the chest, and he's down, out again. She goes and tells Tommy and Lindsay to go down the street to the neighbour's house to call the police, but after they leave, Michael awakens once again and slowly approaches Laurie, at which point Loomis, got his name right for a change, sees the kids running from the house, and he goes in to investigate, only to see Michael attempting to strangle Laurie. Laurie scratches Michael's mask off, distracting them as he puts it back on. Loomis takes the gun out, and he shoots Michael once in the head and 5 more times in the chest, knocking him off the balcony. And Laurie is distraught at the end of the movie, and she asks Dr. Loomis if Michael was the boogeyman, which Loomis confirms. Yeah, pretty much. Loomis walks to the balcony to look down to see that Michael has vanished. Unsurprised, he stares off into the night as Laurie sobs, and that's the end of the movie. There's I kind of get the feeling watching this movie, and it was the same throughout the Friday the 13th movies whenever I was going through them, that, it was kind of like one shot and done whenever they were making the movies, and that's what I kind of got from the end of this movie as well, is because, you've got Dr. Loomis there, he shoots Michael repeatedly, Michael falls, and the body disappears at the end of it, so it leaves you that kind of like an open-ended finish, but at the same time, if they never made another movie after this one, then it could be, a satisfactory enough finish to the film. But the cast in here is great. Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis, fantastic, really good on it. Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie, brilliant. She did such a great job in this movie, and she's not really one of these actors or actresses, whatever you want to call them, that I would really sit down to watch. Like I've seen bits and pieces of her stuff over the years, but I can't actually recall sitting down to myself or thinking to myself before, okay, let's just sit down and watch a Jamie Lee Curtis movie. It's not like a go-to that I would like naturally go for, but enjoyed this movie a heck of a lot. So, what have I got here as far as the budget and that went? It had a budget of 300,000 to 325,000, and the box office came in at 70 million on release. It was filmed in South Carolina in the May of 1978, and it premiered in October. And yes, as I say, grossed 70 million, becoming one of the most profitable independent films of all time. Primarily praised for Carpenter's direction and score. Many critics credited the film as the first in a long line of slasher films inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Yeah, I kind of do get that vibe from it. And I'm actually on the internet just looking at this part here, and it refers to Bob Clark's Black Christmas from 1974. Now that I've seen that, I'm going to take a screen grab of that and keep it tight on the phone. We get around about Christmas time on the podcast here. I'm going to watch that movie and I'm going to review it, because I have heard people talking about it on and off in the past, and it definitely does sound like something that I should check out. It is considered one of the greatest and most influential horror movies ever made. In 2006, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Wow, I didn't know that. Of course, spawned a film franchise comprising, at the writing of this article anyway, 13 films, which helped construct an extensive backstory for its antagonist, Michael Myers. Some people have said that, and that the continuity of it goes one way, then sometimes it changes it to something else. Like in this first movie, Laurie was just a random girl that he was terrorizing in the movie, but apparently, and again, I'm not that well versed in the Halloween movies, but in later movies, turns out she was his sister, and then other movies, she wasn't his sister. It's just like stuff like that happened. It's the movies went just like Friday the 13th. They went for so long, and then they got a remake. This one here got a remake in 2007. That was followed by a sequel in 2009. An 11th installment, which serves as a direct sequel to the original film that retcons all previous sequels, was released in 2018. That was followed by 2 direct sequels, which we're getting into familiar territory now as far as actually seeing this stuff popping up online. It's like Halloween Kills 2021 and Halloween Ends 2022. I'm kind of surprised that those 2 movies are so closely together. I thought there was more time between them been made. So additionally to all that, there, novelization, a video game comic book series have been based on the film, and yes, that's got a huge following, and I'm kind of gutted now that I've come on here and recorded this podcast and actually told you guys that I've never actually properly watched the Halloween movies before, but I'm definitely going to check them out, because over just the October just passed there, we're just halfway through November here at the moment, 2022, that there was a lot of talk on some of the podcasts that I check out about Halloween movies, and had the Halloween franchise been one of them, and people talking about that one movie that had nothing to do with Michael Myers at all. Was it Season of the Witch, you call it? It was one of the sequels. So, I'm looking forward to checking this stuff out. So I think that's going to do it for this this little podcast here. If you did enjoy it, please give it a little bit of a rating review wherever you're checking it out. Follow the show And you can also email directly to Hellmouth Hotline at gmail.com, and I would very much appreciate any feedback and any pointers and suggestions on how I can do this stuff better for you, or even suggestions on what movies or TV shows to check out on this podcast, because I drop the ball a lot. As I say, like, there's a solid month there where I got nothing out whatsoever, but I'm full of the best of intentions when it comes to the podcasts, and I'd be very, very interested in checking out a heck of a lot of TV shows and movies as far as the horror genre goes. So please feel free to get in contact with the show and give me a few suggestions and stuff to check out and talk about on the podcast. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I hope you did enjoy it, and until the next one, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all then. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.